So what is an embodied intimacy workshop? This kind of practice intensive really does need a video to go along with it, because it doesn't matter what I write or what image I put to it. It's a pretty wide range of how it's interpreted, all the way from deep processing and communication skills and very difficult and confronting, all the way through to naked, experiential, sexuality based workshop. So this approach is neither of those. What it is actually learning to come into awareness and relationship to the unconscious material that is constantly going on beneath our awareness in the body as we relate to each other. And this unconscious material, whilst it remains unconscious, is constantly running the show, and we don't even know that it's happening. Now, the problem here is that it's unconscious, so we don't actually see it. And if we try to access this with the mind or with techniques of kind of conceptuality, we remain limited, because the material that's actually holding, like where this material is held in the body, is deep in our cellular musculature, in our nervous systems, and in our brainstem, where we don't have access to it. So we kind of have to learn the language of the body so that we can start to bring into awareness when we're activated. So this material is actually in Tibetan Buddhism and tantric practices. This material is called the second veil, and it is very subtle terrain. Now, these teachings are what people often refer to as secret teachings, or kind of hidden teachings. And it's not that they're hidden from us or that they're reserved for the elite. It's just that we can't actually see them. They are in our reality. We have access to them. Many of us have read them, and we don't really know how to understand them or ignite them or open them up, because in order to understand them, you have to have direct experience. And what direct experience means is that you have to start to learn to navigate this in the body. These teachings are actually maps of the unseen world. They're maps of the unconscious. They're maps of the body. So when you read them without that understanding or without that experience to go along with them, they just feel like very dense theory. But when you actually have an experience of them in the body, something very different happens, because it actually reveals itself, and it's like, oh my God, this is what's going on. So what I mean by that is, underneath our awareness, and when we're in relationship, and when we're in bed, and when we're with friends, and we get activated, we know, because we might get tension in the solar plexus or in the heart, or our breath might get restricted, but we don't actually kind of know what's going on. In some ways, we actually interpret that as intuition. And we have a very, very deep cellular way that we stay away from this experience. We kind of wall it off, or we jump over it, or we move away from it, or we project it out into our partners, or we go into thinking. But we have all these incredible strategies. So as soon as it jumps over that into these habits, well, then we're in our repetitive pattern. And in fact, every time we do it, we strengthen that pattern. So when you start to be able to bite-size this experience and bring it into awareness, you have to do it in mindfulness, slowed down. It has to be safe. Otherwise, the mind can't stay online, will go into reaction, because this is developmental trauma. It was established in the first few years of life, the substructure of it, and then later on we have character and personality that just kind of reconditions and creates that. But the actual building blocks of ego and the building blocks of our emotional realm are very firmly entrenched, and there's so much the water that we swim in that we don't see them. So you have to work with your awareness. So you bite-size it, and you start to track as soon as something starts to happen that is uncomfortable. So normally we think that that's an interruption to our intimacy, and we try and pretend it's not there, or we jump over it. Whereas in here, what we're doing is we're finding our way back to actually hang on a sec. seconds, something's going on. And when we start to feel that in the body, we start to like recognize where it is and we start to embody it. And what you're doing in that very moment is you're not recreating your habit. So you start to embody an aspect of your experience that you've never been able to even inhabit before. And as you do that, as you stay in the body and you move into this experience, like your history and your patterning gets illuminated in the body. It's like you see what you've always done in a way that's embodied, in a way that makes absolute sense to you. And when you get that insight, that is the moment where you experience freedom. Because you actually start to get this confidence of how to navigate your internal world. So you can meet this experience, it gives you insight, and it's like, oh my God, that's the place I normally jump over. Or, oh my God, I normally feel this shyness and this discomfort, and I normally blame you. So that freedom is like, oh my God, I'm doing this to myself. And that's an incredible game changer. The other thing that happens is these cells that are holding that belief system and that tension in the body, when you start to actually inhabit them, you are bringing presence, you're bringing life force to the cells that have only ever known holding and tension. And as that awareness moves through these cells, there is an experience of opening that is so beautiful just in itself, and it's kind of got this quality of bliss and pleasure and truth and self-forgiveness and love. So even the experience of being with your shyness or being with your sadness or being with your fear becomes the very experience of intimacy and of deep, nourishing, satisfying pleasure. So it's very paradoxical. And the other aspect of it is that this, when you kind of do actually stay present to an experience that you've never been able to be present to, then you're listening in the moment in a very different way. And then there's this opportunity for something completely new to arise. And that is this kind of incredible moment of creativity and blossoming and unfolding that is no longer something that you make happen, but a journey that you are totally involved in moment to moment as a creative journey and a creative process. And it's not just you, it's you and your partner. So you're not only having this incredible experience of freedom in yourself and this confidence that you can start to meet aspects of yourself that you've never been able to meet, but you also have this incredible experience of freedom of letting your partner be free. You're no longer projecting onto them, and they experience the freedom of you taking responsibility and feeling your emotion. And that's an incredibly beautiful gift to give your partner. So this is the approach of this intensive. I'm currently just running them in the Byron area because it's an experiential workshop. It's like 4 weeks of practice, like meeting one night a week, and 21 days of individual practice, because we need to ignite our body of awareness within ourselves and this relational practices. They work together. And then I really want to offer ongoing groups, because this kind of practice, it's not like you get this awareness and then boom, you've got it. It's like something you've got to keep working at, because that ego is so tricky. So if you'd like to join us on this intensive, please contact me at lorellaricci.com, and hopefully see you soon. Thanks.